Why you laugh? Okay, going live already, going live already. Going live already, Mr. Wong, going live already.
Terrible.
Okay, 10 seconds. Oh, okay. Start already. All right. Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to the BDAS online pros series. This is the trombone panelists. The trombone panelist is made up of 4 members. They are Mr. Dong Kao, Mr. Tan Tiam Hee, Mr. Pisit Pirapon, and Mr. David Wong. Yeah. So Mr. Dong Kao, can you wave to the public? Yeah, Mr. Kao holds an artist certificate in trombone performance from the Royal Conservatory of The Hague, a Master of Music from the Codarts University of the Arts, Rotterdam, Netherlands, and a Bachelor of Music Honours from the Yongsuter Conservatory of Music, Singapore. Don is currently tutoring and directing junior bands in Singapore schools. Mr. Tan Tiam Hee, Mr. Tan, do you mind to wave? Mr. Tan is a graduate from the University of Sydney, majoring in management, Royal School of Music, majoring in trombone performance, and National Institute of Education, NTU, majoring in wind band directing. Mr. Tan works as a freelance trombonist, playing in various musicals such as West Side Story and Cats. He also worked with artists such as Ame, Francis Ip, David Tao, and Kit Chan. Mr. Tan is also an active band director in Singapore schools. Mr. Pisit Pirapon. Mr. Pisit.
Yes. Hello.
Mr. Pisit holds a master's in music composition. All right, here we go. From Chulalongkorn University, Bangkok, Thailand. He also did both LTCL bass trombone and ATCL euphonium performance diploma from the Trinity College of Music, London. Mr. Pisit is an accomplished classical and jazz musician. He has been a member of the Bangkok Symphony Orchestra, Siam Philharmonic Orchestra, Thompson Big Band, and other ensembles. He is currently a freelance trombonist, composer, and music arranger. Mr. Pisit is also a tutor and band director in Singapore schools. And the last one for introduction is Mr. David Wong. Mr. Wong is the recipient of the prestigious PSC Scholarship and Studies Music Performance in the New England Conservatory of Music, Boston, USA. Upon graduation, Mr. David Wong has performed with the Singapore Symphony Orchestra for 10 years. Currently, Mr. Wong is a visiting adjunct faculty at Bonsam Di Chao Phraya Rajabat University College of Music. I practiced this a lot of times yesterday, but hang there now. Sorry. University College of Music in Bangkok, Thailand, and Singhai Conservatory of Music in Guangzhou, China. He also tutors at the Singapore Armed Forces Central Band, National University of Singapore, National Technological University of Singapore, Singapore Management University, and Singapore Polytechnic. Mr. Wong is also an active band director in Singapore schools. So that's a brief introduction of today's panelists. Yeah, so let's jump into the questions, shall we?
Yeah, sure.
All right. The first question from Daryl: what is the correct embouchure? Maybe let's start from the youngest, Mr. Kao.
Okay, so I mean, I think this is very very hard to kind of answer because like embouchure is like kind of what you used to play. So there it really depends, right? Like on everyone is born different set of teeth, different mouth shape, every the size of the mouth, lips, everything is quite different. But I think the best embouchure, the correct embouchure is the one that you sound the best in. And I think for me, it's something that develops over time. Like personally, I think my embouchure has always been kind of changing as I kind of change my sound, just minor tweaks here and there. And yeah, so yeah, because I think that the lips kind of react to the air. So yeah, just that kind of like concept. So yeah, it's something that I cannot really answer like, oh, this, if you do this, it's the best way. Yeah.
So it's like years of development on the muscles and everything else.
Yes, I mean it's more. I think it's more important to kind of listen to how it sounds rather than how it looks or what kind of muscles you're putting it down, because everyone's different, right? I mean, like I could do it in one way, and if I make the student like copy me, and then it might actually kind of change too much, you know. I mean, of course, in the end, it's what we are creating is sound with what we are creating. The sound with is with the lips, right? With the air blowing across the lips. So we always want to keep the lips like really free and let it vibrate as much as possible.
I see. Okay. How about Mr. PC?
I think the embouchure concept for me and for myself only, I think center for me. Yeah, I think center is safe to start. And I think maybe 85% that student won't have any problems. But for me, yeah, especially for the trombones and euphoniums, the size of the mouthpiece, I think for me we should start at the center. Yeah. I never put like the lower or upper, like follow some of the book method, but I think center is safe for me. Yes.
Okay. All right. Mr. Tan? Mr. Tan, we cannot hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, can hear you.
Yes,
Okay,
yes,
so sorry.
yes.
Okay. I feel that if you're able to produce a nice sound, I think that is what is supposed to follow you all the way. Okay, I remember when my first teacher actually when I first started, I actually have some air bubble here when I play. Okay, but I'm able to produce kind of like decent sound. So my teacher decided that okay, I should stick to whatever that I have, since I can play a decent sound. Then I continue with that. But I agree with what Don said, because as time goes by, you will actually kind of like change slowly, to accommodate to your playing eventually. So I would think that the sound production initially, okay, which is very important. I think that is actually your embouchure. It's very personal, I think. Yeah.
Mr. Wong?
Let me gather my thought. Okay, I think there is a very narrow concept of thinking about embouchure. A lot of people think about embouchure as lips, and it is not just the lips that affects the sound, obviously. In your lips there's a tongue, there's all these things, so everything has in the right place, and it is basically impossible for us to be very robotic about explaining and specifying where everything should be.
Yeah.
Because obviously if you think about the mouth, everybody is different, so I have met students with a much bigger mouth, some with very small mouth, some with thicker lips, thinner lips, that affects the sound, some with very thick tongue, and that affects the sound, some with very long tongue. I had a student last time where the tongue can literally touch the chin when they stick out. So I mean, I can't do it, but that actually affects the sound as well, because there's too much tongue in the mouth. I'm just thinking of how to answer in a way that maybe younger students can think of some direction to help themselves. One of the things that I think is generally agreed is that the lips is the basic function of the lips is to get the frequency. So when we are going, so that is the frequency. and if let's say you want to talk about embouchure, that is part of it. So I think my other panelists have mentioned about sound quality. Sound quality has got to do with tension. Most of the time, the tension has got to do with not the lips itself, but the tension that is related to everything in the mouth. So it's good to separate the thing, but obviously when we are playing, we don't think of it separately. But it's actually two different problems. One is getting the pitch, which is the lips. One is getting the nice sound, which is the entire mouth and actually your entire body as well, because there's other things involved. Maybe the air also. So when one of the ways to talk about embouchure things, which I use quite a bit, is this thing, which is an embouchure thing, and it builds muscles. I realize that a lot of people nowadays in bands are not practicing enough. So building up muscles is one thing. And I have met a lot of students, in especially the university age and above, who are asked to play much higher notes when they are younger, when they are not really ready for it.
Correct.
So they come out with a lot of very strange ways of making the high notes, and they succeeded, but it creates other problems as well. So this is a good training, I think. So basically, I put this in between my teeth and my lips, and I pull outwards. Okay. So is to mimic the air, because when we are playing, basically the air is going outwards. There is a pressure involved, and there is a necessity for the lip muscles to be developed to contain that. And so to make it a little bit crazy, this is the mouthpiece room. So that it is different because with mouthpiece ring, there's less muscles used at certain places, and then okay, and the sound is different as well. For the embouchure practicing, there is also a big concern about too much mouthpiece pressure. A lot of people press very, very hard. That is usually a very, very clear way of creating a bad sound, because that usually encourages a lot more tension. And so there's I have another gadget down here. It is a spring. You can press it down, and then put the mouthpiece in, and then. But if let's say I press very hard, the thing will go in and will stop the air from coming out. And then basically the sound will stop. So this little gadget down here just helps me check, especially for the higher notes or louder passages, whether I am having too much mouthpiece pressure. And I realized that especially for higher notes, with this gadget, a lot of people can actually find the so-called more efficient embouchure, because people who have too much mouthpiece pressure, they actually stop themselves from finding the embouchure for higher notes. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Wong. Since we are in the topic of sound, there's this question from Haris, from Bendon. How to prevent choke, throaty, and pinch sound? This question from Brendan. How to prevent choke, throaty, and pinch sound? Maybe Mr. Kao?
Oh, hello.
Yeah, can hear you loud and clear.
So the question was how to prevent throaty pinch sound.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, I mean, like what Mr. Wong has said, right? So there's so many different factors. with sound production, so it could be really a lot of things to do with the mouth and the lips and even the throat, right? If you kind of engage your throat, sometimes we always say like to play with an open throat. I mean, personally for me, I was always told to play with an open throat, and I even went to the extreme where I was kind of having too much tension in the throat because I'm trying to depress my tongue down, and yeah, because I'm trying to open the throat, right?
Yeah.
So that gave a lot of tension and was causing a lot of problems in my playing at one point of time. So it could be anything. It could be many possible reasons, but usually if it's tight, it's pinchy, it means there's a lot of tension. Yeah, and I mean, I personally I don't really like to think so much about the physical side. So I would always like conceptually like what kind of sound you want to sound like, and you can just kind of go for that, and that would be I think easier in a way to kind of achieve a better sound rather than really trying to isolate different problems, because like I said, sometimes students can go overboard with trying to fix a problem that it goes the other side.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's like it's more about they need it's good to have students to have the image of the sound, then they work towards to the sound that they want.
Yeah, I mean
Okay.
that's my personal take on sound.
Yep. Okay. How about Mr. Pisit?
Think take slow. Do not rush. I think when you want to aim to get something, is don't rush. Yeah, when you rush, then everything will be tense, and everything will come up is very very the sound will be bad. I think everybody is agree that we need to go with the tone and the sound that we concept already. We already aim to do it. So yeah, like what John said, I think don't think too much about the throat or this is all the time. I think concentrate on focus on your tone, relax, and do it slowly.
I see. Okay, that's a good take. How about Mr. Tan?
Okay. I used to practice with a kind of rubber bag with a rubber hose, and that rubber bag itself is actually about 1.5 liters. It's actually meant for for your air intake. But somehow when I blow through and suck back the air, it kind of feel a very cooling effect around my cavity and my throat area. So it actually makes me feel kind of like very open, and I I will call this maybe this is what people say open cavity behind your teeth. Try to be as open as possible when you take a big breath whenever you play. And I agree with PC. What PC says that do not rush. So usually when I start off my day, I usually play some middle range, low note, to make sure that my sound just get through and I don't feel the tension around my cheek, my neck or my throat area. Yeah, I think this is it should be that kind of like concept that you should be feeling. Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Tan, you have anything to share with us because you are on share screen.
How do I go back to the this is not from me,
This is from Mr. Wong. Mr. Wong.
This
Okay,
not
sorry,
from me.
my mistake. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Wong.
Okay. So I think that all of them has mentioned a few things, and I just want to add on. I think just my opinion. I think that it is we are connected within ourselves. So it is kind of like what Don said. He went to the extreme of forcing his tongue down and all those stuff. I did the same thing. I was told all the way from the beginning to do all these things that and then my way to try to learn is to try to make sure that I do it right. And so I went to the extreme, and in fact, it became worse. A number of things. So one of the stuff was doing lip buzzing. So there was a period of time where I practiced lip buzzing for hours on end, and I managed to buzz like the entire Rochou etudes, for example. But the problem was, after I go back to my trombone, my sound is terrible. It was so tense, and then in fact it was much worse than before. I mean, my lips is fantastically strong, but it doesn't help at all. I just want to say this thing. There are quite a number of videos on YouTube, and they are called MRI, real times. This particular video is a horn player called Sarah Willis, but there are trombone players as well. I just want to grab something out, and it just shows you in real time. I hope you can see the video of people playing loud, soft, high, low, and where is the tongue position and where is the lip position, and then what is happening and all those. This is one of the best horn players in the world. So there are quite a number. I thought that it is very interesting for anybody who has technical problems to try different things. Okay, so I just want to just introduce this for interest purposes. Okay, okay, I'll stop now. All right, thank you.
Yeah, very interesting video. So,
I can
Sarah
send it to you
Willis.
guys if you want it.
Sarah Willis. Yeah.
Yeah, so if you go to YouTube, right, you can search for Sarah Willis, then I
Yeah.
think all her video is there. You can see all the different way of playing on the, they will show the inside of the mouth, how your tongue and the tongue placement and everything else.
She's the Berlin
for-
field horn player.
For trombone, there are MRI scans of Mr. Douglas Yeo as well. So they are on YouTube as well.
Okay.
So he's a trombone player, so maybe it's more applicable for trombone player to look at him.
Okay, so for trombone, you can go to YouTube and search Mr. Douglas Yeo, and you can show all the all the inside what is the inside of the mouth showing. Yep. All right. Since we are talking about sound, that means we can move on to the next topic, which is warm up. What should we? A question by Rosley. What should we focus on during warm ups? Let's start from the most senior, Mr. Wong.
Okay. I don't claim. I mean, I've been playing trombone for a number of years, but I don't claim that I know everything. I don't think anybody is will say that he knows everything.
Yeah.
One of the people that I like to look forward to understand what they look for, and I try to experience for myself, are all the OO people, and for all the OO people, there is there is this let me share another screen. Sorry, sharing screen.
Hey, no
So,
problem, no problem.
There is this okay. Yes, here. So there is this can you all see this?
Yes, yes. Very
Yes,
clear.
yes.
So these are so-called the legend players of there's a published thing about asking specifically this question about there's Josh Roberts, Frank Rosalino, there's Robert Marstella, there's Tom Peterson, there's all the top players for all the yesteryears. Many of them has passed away, but they're the top players. And there's a book talking about the exercises that they do for their warm up. For example, this guy called Milt Berhard, he's from the Stan Kenton's Orchestra, and he has his own jazz ensemble, and this is the warm up he used, and they explain everything that they are looking for. So there are this, and So I think for me, I try to approach it from different standpoints, and one of the things that I like to do on my end um, is to try out different approaches and see whether I get what they are trying to achieve. And I think that if even if I don't get it 100%, I benefit something. Um, and the one of the things is one of the things that I like to do a lot for students is to make sure that the air is very free blowing and as little pressure as possible, getting a very consistent nice sound. And I use quite a bit of nowadays. I use quite a bit of basic exercises for younger students. For older students, for more advanced students, I tend to go towards more trumpet stuff. The people, I like to use the exercises from Herbert Clark. I use the exercises from Vincent Shikovic. I think that especially, I've been using Melodious Etudes by Rochelle for my entire life so far, playing the trombone.
Yeah.
I think a lot of trombone players use that. And the main purpose of using that is the free blowing and how everything is very musical and very nice phrase-like. The different approach of the same thing is used by Vincent Shikovic as well, and in a certain way by Blažević as well. And so there are quite a number of materials out there that achieves the same thing. And I think that it's not good to just stick to one, especially for more advanced students. You should explore more different things. But for those of them that cannot get this free blowing, I think having some basic lip slurs and basic tonguing exercises is the best thing.
Okay. How about Mr. Tan? What do you focus on during warm-ups?
Like what Mr. Wong said, I actually move around. I don't stick to one. But usually I will start with for myself lah. I mean, because I don't teach private student at all. For myself, I will always pay a lot of attention on my long tones. But playing long tones is really, really dry and boring. Okay, so a few years ago, I actually came across this guy. I don't know whether you can see his name here. Hang on. Okay.
What's the name?
Hang on. Can you see this guy here?
Yeah, I stopped focusing. Max Sorsberg, is it?
Can't see.
Yeah.
Can't see. Max something.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
Max something.
Yeah. Max Slosubert or something. Okay, because why I talk about this guy is because he actually has a play along track. So whenever I do my long tone stuff, there are actually total of 4 exercises. I will play the play along track and together with the long tone exercise. So I think it's kind of like quite less boring. At least you got a track to play along. So this is usually what I do for a start, for my warm up. And then I actually have this book, The Remington. I use this book for years. I think about at least 20 over years. Okay, and there are a couple of exercises inside there which I really like. So yes, thank you. Who got this? David, right? Thank you.
So this is the warm-up that just now Mr. Tan talked about.
Yeah, he has a play along track. So I think if you Google, you should be able to find.
Okay.
Yeah. Then for the Remington, I particularly like this, the partial exercise. I don't know whether you can see. It's called it's called the security in the high range.
Sorry, I think Mr. Wong, you need to stop sharing first.
Yeah.
So that
Sorry.
no problem.
Yeah, it's called the security in the high range.
Okay,
and then you have all the partials exercise, where you go up. This is where like what Mr. Wong said just now, especially when you are in the high resistor. You know,
Okay,
the kind
okay.
of the amount of pressure that you really have to apply to play for the high notes. Okay, but then
Okay.
again, I believe without pressure is impossible, but there must be a certain level of, you know, a pressure, just nice, that you are able to get the high resistor.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. Then after that, I still have the Aban. Aban is my favorite. I've been using this. Yeah. But this Aban is actually basically by Joe LSE and Dr. Brian Bowman. This edition.
Mm.
Yeah, I think if you are able to, you know, practice through the whole thing, I think you can see our son already lah. You know, I mean, this is all the things that require you to do is basically inside there. And then last but not least is what Mr. Wong say, like the Bible for trombone player.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so there are 3 books altogether. So yeah, I already completed the first and second book. The third one, still don't want to touch yet, but yeah, no, but I think for regular warm up, I think I still prefer book 1 because it's really something easy to start off, easy to it's very melodious, very beautiful, very legato. Yeah, so these are the few things that I always do for my own warm up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe Mr. Tan, you can type out the stuff that you have shared into the Zoom. Then we will share it to the Facebook comments.
Is it the chat there?
Yeah, the Zoom group
Oh,
chat.
okay.
That's right.
Sure,
That's
sure,
right.
sure. Can,
Yeah.
no problem.
Mr. Wong
Yeah.
also, Mr. Wong, just now the tools that you introduced. Maybe you can type out what's the name.
The gadget. Yeah.
To the Zoom group chat. Then we can share it to the audience through the Facebook. Yeah, just type in the Zoom group chat. How about Mr. Mr. PC? What is your focus? What is your focus when you're doing your warm up?
Oh, for me, it's just because I work as a repairman as well. I don't have a lot of time, and what I try to maintain is like what David say and Jamie. Yeah, we use the same method of book mostly, and try to play lyrical, long the melodic passage. And for me, I focus on lip slur to make it as smooth as possible. I think lip slur is something that they combine a lot of things, that your air, your lips, your pitching, and your, if you can train with some like what Jimmy did is with accommodate with the piano or some of
the play along track.
Yeah, play along.
Yeah.
So that is quite interesting and quite enjoy. As long you enjoy, I think the product will come out good. Yeah. For me, if you ask me, is I concentrate on lip slur, long tone, all this stuff. Yeah.
Is to focus on airflow.
Mm.
It seems like this is a common topic right now.
Yes. because we try to maintain our strength when we play. Yeah. So this kind of thing we cannot run away. Then it's always come back to square one again, and we try to experiment a different thing when we have time. We not stuck with the one thing. So we try lip slur of this. Like what David mentioned just now. Yeah, the same book that I have is Tommy Peterson. So always around the corner in the house that we can pick it up and practice. What Jenny already introduced is the Aban. I think everybody should have this. So
yes.
yeah. So yeah, quite common. Yes.
Mr. PC, very good take. How about Mr. Kao? What is the focus what do you focus during warm up?
For me, I think it's also very important to kind of raise this issue. I mean, so far we've been talking about kind of what we all do. I mean, I think there's also a point where the warm up doesn't become a warm up anymore, and it just becomes like practice, right? Because sometimes when we do all these exercises, sometimes we do it as part of the warm up, and then like after a while, it's actually we're already kind of warmed up. But then it's just practice, right? So I think a lot of times we kind of use warm up and like.
Oh, Mr. Kao, you went. We cannot hear you.
Yeah, your sound cut off.
Hello.
Yeah,
Yeah,
can
yes.
already.
Yeah. So sometimes I think we use the word warm up and like with our daily practice, and we kind of mix it up. So which is why a lot of times I think a lot of people like say, oh, like trombone need to warm up like really long, and I think it's not exactly true. I think it's just that we kind of term it together, like our daily practice, routine practice. For me, I do use all the books that you already just mentioned, but what I would focus on would also kind of be really like I usually start off with long tones, followed by lip slurs, like slow lip slurs, and then faster flexibilities, and then I will like continue on to scales and articulation studies. All of my exercises, I mean, I do have a fixed routine, but also the exercises I have kind of taken from all my different teachers over the years as well. So it's not really like you can find them in very specific books, because they are my teachers all kind of use from different books, different kind of things. So it's all kind of all over the place. But one book I would recommend is this. It's uh it's actually by one of my teachers in the Netherlands. Bart van Leer. He's a jazz player. He wrote this book, Coordination for Trombone Playing, and it's quite interesting because he basically covers. It's not really an exercise book because it's kind of like a method book. He kind of talks about the concept of everything of coordination, like what Mr. Wong was talking about, right? Like all the different mouths, the air, it could be all the different factors, and it's about coordinating everything so that everything works together. Like tongue, air, lips, everything. So yeah, this is one book that I would recommend.
Okay,
Yep.
okay. All right. So basically, right, to if I summarize it out, right, is what these four panelists they normally warm up is long tones, and they do a lot of lip slurs. They play exercises that work on airflows. Then Mr. Carl also brought up a lot of pointers that the warm up should prepare you for what you're going to practice uh later during your daily routines.
I forget to add one also.
Yeah, Mr.
I
Tan.
think playing through your scales is equally important. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So
yeah, I play all the major scales, all the minor scales every day also. Yeah. So
okay,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
All right. So long tones, lip slurs, play exercises that work on airflows, and Mr. Tan got mentioned about to practice of scales, to practice of interval studies, and Mr. Carl also. I think Mr. Carl added in a very important point. The warm up should be suited for what you are doing for the rest of the day. So it's to prepare yourself. Yeah. All right. Very good. So let's move on to the next topic. This is I think every brass players will would want to know. All right, is to how to increase your range, uh, higher notes. So from Razik, right, he asked about, is there any tips to increase your range? And Rosley, how to improve your high register notes? And Razik, how to relax your jaw and throat when playing high notes? So I term it, this is the high notes category questions. Yeah. So so any takers, I will open to the ground. Anybody want to go first?
Maybe I go first.
Yes, Mr. Tan, sure.
Okay, I always believe that because I've been teaching primary school to JCs, for many years. I think range will develop as you grow. Okay, so for my experience is like when I'm teaching primary school kids, there's only a certain range that I will allow them to play. I mean, or unless they have to sound decent on this certain range, then I will ask them to carry on from there, and especially the beginners. So when somebody asks, okay, what is high range? Basically, it's subjective. From different level. If you are talking about primary school, secondary school level, if you are able to reach a high C or a high concert B flat, wow, that is very high already. You get what I mean? Yeah. So I mean, if for people at their age or level who are able to reach anything higher, I would say that they are squeezing the sound. Because I also have fellow colleagues who actually came that I learned from that, you know, uh, the kind of repertoire usually for secondary school band, I mean the better bands that they play, okay, requires them to play actually quite high. So many of the students actually, in order to be able to reach that note, they really squeeze all the way out to reach that note. Okay, so eventually it will kind of like injure the lips. It could be short term, it could be long term. So there are a
Okay.
couple of students that actually that we encounter actually suffer long term effect. So
Oh,
I think for practicing high notes, I think I have to be very cautious. I think through your age and when you grow, I think this range will actually accumulate lah. It will slowly build up in a way. Everybody can play high note. It's just that whether that range is does it sounds decent or sounds nice to you or not. Yeah,
okay.
I think this is should be the concept and mentality.
Okay. So high notes have to be developed a period of time. You have to be a natural
My
progression.
belief, my
Yes,
belief,
yes,
because
yes.
when I go on my own trombone playing journey, I only develop my higher range. That is, I'm talking about maybe a high C, high D, high E flat, or even high F. I'm actually at the later part of my journey.
Mm.
So when I say be able to reach that, right? Okay, I don't actually like just squeeze the sound out, but like what Mr. Wong said, I try to be really quite relaxed manner, just to play that note out in a way. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Tan. It's a very good take.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Mr.
Okay.
Wong?
I'll just speak first. I realized that I just want to make a comment about the band methods nowadays, especially recruits. I think in general, almost all the band methods starts from low notes. In my personal
Yes.
experience of playing and teaching and finding out about players, it's not just for trombone, but all brass instruments, just in general, there are minority players, not many, but minority players that naturally can play high notes but cannot play low notes.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes.
And
Yeah.
it is quite common. In fact, it's just that they are the minority, but almost I see them all around. But because of the band method books, they are being pushed to play low, and in fact, they have to do strange things in order to do something that's not natural to them. And so I don't know how to solve this issue because obviously the recruit bands in Singapore usually has one instructor, majority.
Yeah.
Budget constraint.
Do it together. I kind of pity these players who has so-called a natural high range and they can play actually the high notes very easily, but they have no low range, as in the way that they are set up that's natural to them. And I find that it's a pity because I don't think that we have a system to help these people. And a lot of these players are actually potentially I think most of the bands will be very happy if let's say they can develop their higher range very nicely and they don't have very low range. I think a lot of bands will be very happy to have these people. Yeah.
Half the problem is solved.
It's very the current system does not really help these people right now. So that one is a huge concern. And once these people are kind of being pushed to start from low notes and then they change or whatever they are set up, and then finally after 1 year or something like that they try to they change whatever they need to change and they can play low notes. Most of these people will lose whatever that's natural for high range for them at the start. Most of them they will lose it. Very few people can carry on with unless they are encouraged from the beginning.
Okay, okay. So there's no suggestion how to handle this problem, right? Because most of the school bands only have a senior band instructor and a junior band instructor. So the
Yeah.
recruits is handled by
Very
one.
hard.
Yeah. Okay, okay. All right. So schools should have tutors.
Yes, that will solve the problem.
Well, we have to work. We have to work within our constraints. How about Don, Mr. Cow?
For me, I think high register, and I think even low register, right? I think it's in the end, it's about uh, how to kind of expand it. It's really to take where you are really most comfortable at, right? Like what Mr. Tan mentioned, like it kind of comes with age, but it also comes with experience. Like knowing the instrument better, knowing what you're kind of, and also building muscles and everything. There's so many schools of thought behind it, but I think it's many of times like students, they come with questions like, why does my high note sound so pinched, so tight? And I think the main problem is they are like, also like what Mr. Pisit mentioned earlier, like to take things slow. I think a lot of these students, they
Yeah, they don't time. They don't have a time.
yeah, they just jump. And also I think it's this mentality, right, behind brass playing, that the higher notes you play, the better you are.
Yeah, that's it.
That's good.
So I think
Yeah.
many times people kind of skip steps. So
Yeah.
if they are doing if the high register sounds very different from, like, the quality of the high register note sounds very different from like middle, right? So it's going to be probably because they are doing something very different, right? So they are skipping steps in order to hit that high note. And for me, I think a good way to approach it is really just where you are comfortable. It could be a higher range, could be a lower range. Kind of, I mean, especially we use the trombone, and then there's the slide. I mean, you can use it to the glissandos. I think will help a lot. Especially going up, going down. You kind of use, because all the micro muscles as you go down. All the different go down the slide, where as you lengthen the instrument, as you even start from a lower note and you go up, right? So that I think glissandos is a good practical way to kind of help bridge that gap between different registers.
Okay. Anybody want to demonstrate the glissando exercise?
Okay,
I
Mr.
like-
Wang.
I
Mr.
like-
Wang.
I like
Mr. Wang.
I like all your faces. It's like, whoop.
I mean, since Don you talk about it, why don't you just show it to?
Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, this is also a little bit to the with like how I warm up. So like, for example,
Yeah.
for me, my most comfortable note to start on is the middle F. And then I slowly go down, and then so I think like this is, because like this is how I start off the day, and because I'm this is what I'm most comfortable with, right? Just trying to get air going through the instrument. So I think this is like my approach. And like, so if I translate that to like a higher register, so let's say if I am, for example, most secondary school band students have problems bridging between like F and high F, and between F and G, right?
Yes.
What's that partial? So I would always think that a good way would be, if they're able to play F very healthily, then maybe start playing that F in sixth position. And then slowly build their way all the way up. No, if they are if somehow the gliss like disconnects, right? And then you know that,
Yeah.
that you're not really doing something to kind of keep the same kind of muscles moving. So then there's that disconnect that you can kind of work it out with the glissando. Because if it starts to chip, if you start to lose a little bit of sound, a little bit of, or even stop being able to pitch the note altogether, then that's something to kind of work on slowly. Yeah.
Okay, so if I summarize it up, it's like going for weightlifting. Yeah, it's like high notes is like maybe 50 kg. Then if you're like 20 kg, you cannot straight away go to 50 kg. So if you straight away go to 50 kg, maybe
You will injure yourself.
yeah, you will injure yourself. And
To build it up.
yeah, so you have to build it up by so Mr. Cow have talked about doing glissando practice, so position 6 to position 5, and you have to keep moving up, slowly move up to feel it and stuff like that. And Mr. PC, Mr. Tan talked about actually it's very related to to the warm up. So how you warm up actually is all related. So it's like a period of development of your muscles and everything else. Understand your body and so that you can slowly increase the range of
Yeah,
your
exactly.
instrument.
Muscle just needs time to develop and strengthen. I really feel that. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we talk about going high notes, right? So how about low notes?
Oh, we have to ask our expert, Mr. Wong, Mr. PC.
Anybody? I mean, I played with Mr. Wong, Mr. PC, and Mr. Tan for the VDA band, right? For the recent years, VDA has this concert and stuff like that. I see them blast pedal notes, and they don't crack. It's like no problem. It's like they don't crack, and they can play pedal notes with projection, no cracking. So actually, Vincent asked this question: how to play pedal B flat while still playing with projection, and Caden asked how to play low notes without cracking. Wow, this is a wisdom. So.
Need a lot. Yeah, sure.
So is there any methods or any exercises that we can work on?
I just answer it in a very simple way. I think that there is a misconception by a lot of players. I mean, not just players themselves, but especially quite a number of band instructors as well. That as you play low notes, you have to blow more and more and more and more and more air. I think that is a huge problem, because if let's say I'm just going to go and if let's say I go down and the lower notes is actually less air. As I'm going down, like here, if I'm going to go, the pedal note is not more air at all. There is an embouchure movement, but it's not more air as well. So I think that especially for low notes, I mean, if you're going to go, there's a D, and then is the C is not more air. I mean this and it's not more air. I mean that's 4 octaves. But I find that there's a misconception. Also, I think it is to turn it around. I think it's also a misconception that playing high notes is like climbing up a mountain. That means the higher you go, the more strenuous it is. It's not true as well. I think I'm using a bass trombone now here right now. I'm going. My high B flat is probably more as relaxed, if not even more relaxed than my low B flat. Yeah, it's I'm not blowing harder as well. And embouchure wise, there is a difference. I am moving. It's not a separate thing as well. It's not. It's not. I mean, it can be connected as well. And then it can be connected as well. So to say that you must have the right embouchure to play higher notes to get it at all, and you have the stamina and the strength and all those stuff, I don't particularly will say that it's 100% true. I will say that to play high notes loud and sustained. So getting a high note and hold it long. It's different. You need stamina to hold it. You need a certain air to hold it. But just getting it is not about climbing up the mountain. It is not as difficult as most people think. There is a technique involved, but it's not about climbing a mountain. So to say that as you go higher, you must have more and more and more stamina, more and more and more and more strength. I won't say it's 100% true.
Okay. But how about on the low notes?
Same thing. I mean, it's an embouchure thing. It's the embouchure thing. I mean, you go.
It's a control. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. It's a control.
Thing. I mean, you're going to go. Let's say. I mean, that is, I think, low enough.
Yeah.
It's not that there is an embouchure, but I think what a lot of people try to do is, and they will not be able to find it, is they blow harder and harder and harder.
No, low note cannot use like fast speed air. They need to be slower, pull back. Yeah.
Okay.
Pull back, yes.
So does the glissando technique work for low notes? Like that's what Mr. Carl talked about when he practiced high notes, right? When he extended the range, right? He suggested using the glissando technique to work on the high notes. But does it work
until
on
a
the
certain
low
extent. Until a certain extent, it doesn't really go all the way to I feel
yeah,
that.
the low notes are too wide, I think,
Yeah.
to apply. Although, I mean, it is. I mean, you can actually practice that.
It will help slowly
I would say
finding the center.
I would say the middle range to the higher resistor, right? The set of system here is actually probably closer. Yeah, but
Yes.
but the middle range to the lower or pedal, it is actually quite far apart. It's really a different set of system here.
It's a technical thing. And I think that most school bands, when you have seniors, alumni, tutors, I think there are more people experienced in playing the middle range. So there are a lot of people who have very good advice. But once you go up to a much higher range, then it becomes a little less people have the experience, but a lot of people have a lot of advice. But once you go down to a very low range, like what you have been saying before, I think that
you seldom hear advice.
Think that you can play higher is better.
Yeah.
Very few people feel like the lower you play is better. So you have a lot less people who have the experience of playing very low to give advice.
But talking about that, for students who actually to develop range, right? I would also suggest that they actually should work or develop both ways. Like it shouldn't be like one-sided. I can go all the way. Because I experienced some JC students that to say they have very good high range for what Mr. Wong said. But when I asked them to play a low B flat, a normal do, oh man. Yeah, they actually, some of them actually have difficulties to play that low C properly. Yeah.
Okay.
So I think should be both ways.
Yeah. Okay, so to summarize this range topic, right? So I think using the concept of weightlifting. So if, let's say you want to hold a weight of 50 kg, all right, it's like and you right now your hand muscle only can hold 20 kg. You need time to develop and be really patient with the exercises with your range. Don't rush it, because if you rush it, like to answer Razi, if you rush it, right, you might end up tightening too much of a jaw and your throat will be at the wrong place, and like what and like what Mr. Carl just now did share also. Yeah, when he was young, he tried a lot of method. Then in the end, he went back 2 step or 3 step backwards. So be really patient. Trust your instructors, and read up online and try out all the methods and really be patient with it. So range take time to develop. Agree? Panelists,
Yeah, actually, I just wanted to bring up one more point. I
yes,
mean,
sure.
I don't think it's so much weightlifting, right?
Okay.
Like what Mr. Wong said, it's not really about strength. It's actually like what I said, it's technique, because it's, and also what Pisit mentioned, it's the airflow, right? The speed of the air. So like what Mr. Wong mentioned, a lot of times people blow harder in the lower register.
Yeah.
And they don't get it because the speed is really fast, right? There's a lot of air going through the speed really fast. The lips are unable to kind of vibrate. So I think the just like doing glissandos, it's not so much to build the muscles, but it's rather to kind of understand the flow of air and what your body is doing. You know, like it's easy to tell with the glissandos if you're going down, like why does it suddenly stop? You know, or if you're going higher, why does it not go up any higher? Yeah, I think it's you shouldn't really think of it as weightlifting, because a lot of people brute force their way through, like
Yeah.
need more strength, and then in the end it becomes even worse, I think.
Correct.
So I think it's just really always trying to keep a really relaxed sound, and then stretching by kind of learning how the airflow works and how the body and the instrument is kind of connected.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry, to make myself clearer is so in short, it's like you need a period of time. It's not a one day thing lah. Yeah.
And one more thing I have to suggest also.
Yeah.
Try not to read too much or watch too many YouTubes.
Yeah.
Because the demo on YouTube's and the Google, right, is basically about themselves.
Yes.
And also whatever they demo, right, is like, wow, they can do that, but that doesn't mean that you can do that. So I would suggest that go and get a good teacher. And you have Mr. Kao here, Mr. Wong. I mean, go and get a good teacher. I think when the teacher look at you, right, physically, they will give you a better solution to your problems.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree, because I personally I only start learning trombone when I finish my NS properly, as in really properly. Yeah, with Mr. Wong. Mr. Wong is my first teacher. So is then I went for Mr. Wong. Mr. Wong only asked me to do breathing exercise for like first few lessons. Then I was like, what? Yeah, but I think it really helps. So I think it's very important to find proper teachers. Yeah, and I really agree that watching YouTube and just online resources is not good.
It's
unless
it's inspiration.
Yeah, but yeah, unless it's recommendation by the band instructor or what, you know, or your own tutors in school. All right. So let's Mr. Wong.
Okay. I'm into production as well, and I know for a fact that sometimes whatever you see on YouTube, and then you try and you listen to this sound is very good, and then you try to look at what they are doing. Sometimes, especially in the performance kind of YouTube, it is quite common in production that the audio is edited after that.
Yeah.
The video and the audio is done separately sometimes, so you don't you may not see what you hear like a very powerful sound, and then what they play is in real time at the same time. It may not be necessarily. I mean, I'm not saying that everybody is fake, but you know, in production it's quite common that is done.
Yeah. Totally agree. Totally agree.
Okay, let's move on for this topic of high notes. So
okay.
I think to summarize, high notes is you need time to develop, to understand your body and everything else. Don't rush through it. Yeah, and get a teacher to work on it. Yeah. All right. So move on to the last topic, right? It's about tonguing. It's about tonguing. So from Laura Ho just asked this questions. He was saying, "Hi guys, learning a lot from all the different insights from everyone. Thought I would take this chance to ask about my problem. Yeah. So how do you tongue? How do you start a note? I never had these problems before. I somehow developed these issues 4 to 5 years ago, looking to start from scratch again. Thanks. Laura Ho. I think Laura Ho is a very accomplished player.
Cannot start the sound immediately, like in order.
I think he's asking for some sharing session about some sharing about how do you start a note, how do you tongue. Like
last time I used to do this before I start a note. I used to breathe in like. But recently I tried to do it like how should you say, like a cycle, a flow. So it's basically like, so I'll actually get my note out easier, clearer, and precise, more precise. That means it's like a cycle. It's like rather than so. Yeah, last time I have this a jerk or a lag. I don't know. So when the note just start off, right, it will start with too harsh a sound. Yeah, but usually but right now it's better because I'm doing the yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, one way is that.
Anyone? Mr. Pisit.
I don't have these problems, so I'm not very sure. It's like it's like
Okay.
Wow.
no.
Wow.
I mean, you think too much to start, or something like that, or when you want to start, it's not going. It's like it's not come out.
Mm.
Okay.
Sometimes it could be mental also.
Yeah, think too much, right?
Yeah,
Sometimes think too much.
sometimes I think.
Okay.
I have a tuba player. My juniors last time in Thailand, they play well. Yeah, but that's come to the certain level that he start to start late. He come in late. Then we turn to him that what happened? Then he's like he tried to come in the same time with us, but he can't. I think he think too much. Yeah, I'm not very sure how is he now, but yeah. And I'm sorry, I'm not sure about it. Yeah.
So no problem. It's okay. Mr. Kao?
I mean, I think this is quite a common problem with a lot of players. I mean, like especially like more established players, because when I was studying in Europe, there were also I had some classmates who already were playing in, like, they really had a full-time job in orchestras around Europe, and they actually took time off their work to actually study with my teachers because they had problems like this.
Mm.
Right, it's mainly connecting the air and the initial attack.
Yeah.
And I think
Is it they can't start in time that they want?
I'm not quite sure. I don't claim to be an expert on this because I never really had that problem, I think, but I think it's a lot to do with the brain and body connection. So like so there's some like that, like I don't know, like it's like some kind of like a mistranslation, right, with the brain signals. At least that's how it was explained to me. And I think how they usually kind of work their way through it is like really taking things really slowly. Like what Mr. Tan mentioned, right, the it's good to do it with just the air attack, but you can also do it with the tongue,
Yeah.
because it's a lot of times we when we breathe, it's you want the momentum, right? It's like if you breathe, you don't really know when to
Yeah.
come in, right? When the tongue starts. So it's kind of like throwing a paper plane, right? You kind of draw it back and you throw, or even like badminton, tennis. You know, there is that backswing, that momentum, right? Because it's all about momentum, and I think it's the same with breathing, right? Right. So I think that's one kind of way, one way that I see they usually get things working by just really going back to that momentum. Yeah.
I think it's also like to train the mind that it's like a one way thing. It's like a cycle, So to make yourself do not think too much. It's like it's what a one cycle. Just go through it naturally. I think this is to train the brain as well. I agree with what Don said. It's probably a mental problem.
Actually,
Yeah.
Laurel, he replied very quickly. He said, yes, I can air attack very well, but once I add my tongue in, it doesn't work. It will be a mispitch. So I think he's talking about like that. Yeah.
The accuracy lah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he said, I think he's having this problem right now. Yeah. Any tips to share, Mr. Wong?
Okay, I think let's put this in context. I think I'm reading the correct Laurel Hole.
Yeah.
I think so.
It,
Laurel
Yeah.
Ho, yeah.
is
Yes.
a graduate from Yongsu Conservatory. So
Yeah.
Yes, that Laurel Ho.
um,
yes.
and
Hi, Laurel.
the bass trombonist of Guiyang Symphony
Yes.
for 30
Yeah.
years.
Hi, Laurel.
Happy married life right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, we're not talking about a person who is like a secondary school or a poly JC student. We are talking about somebody who has gone through formal training a number of years and then suddenly a problem creep in after a number of years during when that person is playing as a professional full-time player. So I I have for me personally I have helped at least 2 person I can remember clearly right now who has exactly the same issue. They are one of them is still playing professionally right now, and then I remember that I was in the brass quintet when I was in my conservatory days, and then the first trumpet player had this problem. Suddenly, in the middle, not the first year, but the second year when we're in the brass quintet, all of a sudden developed this problem. I know that one of a very accomplished French horn player when I was studying, know him, and then he got the job, I think principal horn in Hong Kong, Philharmonic Orchestra, and then all of a sudden he got this problem while he was in the job in Hong Kong. So I have witnessed quite a number of these issues with fellow colleagues, friends, and fellow students before. I won't dare to say that I know exactly how to solve. I know that everything in and out because I never had a problem. I just had the experience of helping other people. But what I did was I come from the basic idea that whatever that is natural is something that we don't think a lot. I mean, to play the trombone, there are a number of things that's involved that has to come together and get well coordinated. I think everybody can agree on that. But the thing is, we don't think about it when it is natural. And very often when we start playing the instrument from young, and we do it very well, this natural thing is the thing that carry us. We don't think of the individual components that has to come together to make everything work. But up to a certain extent, sometimes it can be climate, sometimes it can be sometimes it can be just your surroundings. Sometimes it's because of influence from other things that you hear. All of a sudden, you start thinking about it, and then it changed maybe one small aspect of those components, and then it can mess you up. That is a pretty common thing. And so the way that I approach with this understanding and this principle is to, in the past when I help other students, is to ask them to do certain things to check their different aspects of what needs to be combined together, and try to find out exercises to check the different aspects, and then from there, gradually put very small parts together, and then gradually build it up again. To just add to just add, I have never known somebody who has got this problem and solve it by themselves. They always got professional help in order to solve it. Somebody must be with them. If you're by yourself, there is a very low chance. I won't dare to say zero. I don't know everything. But I have not witnessed somebody who can solve this by themselves. So,
Okay.
Laurel, all the best. Hopefully, you can find somebody that you can with and to solve this. I wish you all the best.
Okay.
All right, so we are approaching to the end of this talk show. All right, by the BDAS. Just want to round up to today's session. So before I round up, right? So tonguing is basically something that you have to think about, and if you really have any issues, you should really approach a professional for help. Yeah, and see whether he or she can help you with your problems. Yeah. All right. So to round up, may I invite the 4 panelists to each of you have 30 seconds to have some tips or advice to the public on trombone playing. But yeah. So let's start from the youngest, Mr. Kao.
Practice with a metronome.
Okay.
Yeah, man.
Okay, so Mr. Kao practice with a metronome. Anything, Mr. Kao? Anything to add in?
Nothing much. I mean, I think that's really quite important. I think we didn't really mention it at all.
I agree with you. So Mr. Kao talk about practice with a metronome. Mr. Pisit?
Practice something that you enjoy and explore more those stuff that you never have done before. Okay, you can come across to the jazz. You can play some blues, some play with play along tracks. Make yourself enjoy that. I think your practice will be fun. Then that is all about that we play all these instruments, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So Mr. Pisit talk about enjoy the process, enjoy the music making process. Yeah. How about Mr. Tan?
Continue to play with passions. I agree with what Mr. PC has said. Many young players, they are really scared to try out jazz playing. It's actually not that difficult. I mean, jazz is actually another language, but after understanding and try to try on it, right, it's actually not that tough. We are lacking in jazz players. I mean, be able to play swing stuff, in big band stuff in Singapore. Actually, we have plenty of classical trained trombone player, wonderful. But we need more people to step up to try jazz.
So audience, you heard that. If you want to learn some jazz playing, please approach the 3 gurus here. 4 gurus here. All right.
Yeah.
And Mr. Wong, let's round it up.
I am I'm actually surprised that nobody talked about intonation and pitch.
Next time.
Yeah, time too short.
I will throw up this question to everybody because this is totally another big can of worms.
Intonation and keep time.
Yeah, there's the intonation about ear training and all that stuff, which is probably, we use a slide on the trombone, which is pretty important part of development as well. So I open up this huge can of worms to everybody who wants to ask more questions in the future.
Okay.
Hey.
All right. So we will end off this session today. A big round of applause for the four panelists for the fruitful sharing. All right. We hope that we have more in the future. And lastly, please don't forget to follow our Facebook, the Band Directors Association of Singapore. And please also you can follow the BDAS in the Instagram. You can just look for us over there. If not, the next session is at 3 p.m. It's the euphonium section. Yeah.
Wow.
Sorry, no, not euphonium section. Yeah, it's 3 p.m. It's euphonium section. Yeah. It's by Vincent Goh, Erica Goh, and Kang Chung Ming. Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
everyone. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.